Hi, this is Bill Prater, and welcome to the Business Builder Show, where we feature champions in their respective industries from all over the world. Our mission is to provide you with timely, provocative, and actionable resources that will inspire, promote, and accelerate your quest for business excellence. Today, we're going to find out the fast track way to launch your program, and Elisa Boogaerts will walk us through that. Now, Elisa is a well-known launch strategist and planner. She helps coaches strategize, plan, and execute their program launches in a structured and organized way so they can focus on scaling their business. She's combined 17 years of project management and coaching experience that she uses to get her clients ready to launch. Elisa, it's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Bill. Awesome.
You are welcome. Now, I've got a clue, but maybe our listeners don't know exactly who it is that you serve.
Yeah, I work with coaches predominantly, and I do work with two kinds of coaches. I work with coaches who have been coaching maybe for a year or so, and they want to start scaling. So they want to start doing group programs and therefore launching something, or they want to start doing summits or gift giveaways, things like that. They want to add that to what they offer. And then the other coaches I work with are more like established coaches who actually have teams, and I step in and I come as like a project manager with so they can be out speaking and selling and filling their events, and I can be making sure their team's doing everything they're supposed to be doing for their.
So, program launch, what sort of problems exist in that launching activity that you're able to solve, Elisa?
I really help people with the planning and the organizing and the strategizing and with the tech as well. I know lots of people that the tech is something they just don't want to deal with. So the problem I find with a lot of coaches is that when you, especially the newer coaches, or just any of them, there's so much to do with a launch. There are so many moving pieces and there's so much stuff to do. And the plan that I have is actually for a like normal program launch is over 270 tasks long. There's so much to do. And so I think that people don't think about the plan fully and they don't give themselves enough time to do everything. And by thinking through the plan fully, that's kind of like the strategizing part that I talk about. So when we go through the plan that I have, I'm always asking them questions like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Like, how many emails would you like to send? And then we plan it out all week by week. So that's really what I help them with. And then I also work with them every week to make sure they get everything done that needs to get done. So I'm like, okay, yes, we have 270 tasks, but I'm going to get you to focus on these 10 this week so that they don't have to worry about everything that needs to happen. They can just have an exact to-do list to check off and get things done and just really trust the process and know that everything's going to get done when it needs to.
I think what would really help our listeners, Elisa, if you could think of someone you've actually served, maybe, and give us a little short case study. How does that person get into your universe? How do you figure out what their issues are? And one, two, three, what's your process look like?
They usually get into my world through my workshop. I do monthly workshops where I talk about, actually, we're talking about today the fast track way of like really planning, setting up your backend systems, and tracking your work is the things I love to talk about and teach people. And then from there, I do a planning session with them where we go, like I was just talking about, we go through all of it, we strategize everything. I understand what it is that they're launching, when they would like to launch it by, and some of their targets as well, how many people they want to serve within their program. And then from there, yeah, I work with them to hold them accountable every single week to make sure that they get everything done that they need to get done. And in doing that, I look at also, we create a marketing content calendar. We look at all the details of everything for their launch. I help them with their tracking. Are their conversions happening the way that they want to help? Because sometimes, say you have at the beginning of your funnel might be a lead magnet. And say you have 100 people coming to your lead magnet page, but only 10 of them are actually signing up. That's actually quite a low conversion rate in terms of industry standards. What could be going, what tweak, what little change could we make to make that better? And one example I had with a client was that they were asking for a phone number. It was an optional thing to add in, but that was a huge deterrent for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So we removed the phone number field, just asked for their first name and email, and their conversion went from 15% to 73. of those people. So now the next 100 people, 73 of them said, yes, I want your lead magnet versus the 15 from the first 100. Yes, we look at all those kinds of things to see what we can tweak to make them more successful, which is really what I want for them. And then, of course, if they want help with the tech, they don't want to set up their landing pages, they don't want to automate their emails, me and my team, we do that with them as well.
That story about your conversion delta for that one little fix. And most people, I would imagine, have blinders on. They have no idea that could even be possible because it was optional. Elisa, you've got tons of competition out there. So how do you, one, differentiate yourself and basically put your competition in the dust behind you?
Oh, good question. How do I differentiate myself? I think that because when I worked in corporate and I was a project manager, or I have been a project manager for the last 14 years. And so I think those skills that I have, I'm just a natural, super organized planner person. And I think a lot of people really need and love that. There are so many people who they just want to coach and they just want to be out there serving or speaking and selling. And they don't necessarily want to think about all of that stuff that I love to think about. So I think that really helps me to differentiate. And because I've been doing it for so long, it's such a streamlined process that it's really easy for them to like slot in and follow. And the strategizing I find is so much fun when we meet with them. And I think when I first started doing this, I thought it was just gonna be like, okay, here's the plan, let's put in some dates. But we actually is like a whole discussion. And I think I love that as solopreneurs, we often don't talk to people about the nitty-gritty little things. Okay, I want to do a webinar. What day would that be better on? What day, what time? We have those conversations in our heads, but not necessarily with somebody else. And so I think I love having those conversations with people and they love having them too, because they're like, oh, I didn't think about this, or I'm so glad that we thought this through because now it's going to be better than maybe what it was if they weren't working with me.
Listeners, to put a little ribbon on what she just said, her unique project management skill. Lots of people, her competitors, are philosophers. They've got an idea and a notion of how to do stuff, but they have never really actually gone through it. But 275 different steps, Elisa?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your own business. How did you decide to start your business? What were some of the key milestones along the way? And what did you learn as a solopreneur yourself?
When I first started my coaching business about 4 years ago, I actually started as a life coach. I was helping people with their self-confidence so they can really do what they want to do in their lives and feel very confident, secure themselves to do what they wanted to make their lives the way they wanted to make it. And in working with my business coach, when I had quit my corporate job, he was like, what are you doing with all those project management skills? He's like, I really see the need for that in the coaching world. And it took me a little while to get my head around that because being a project manager in corporate, there was there was some not so great parts about it. There was some toxic environments, there was like the strict deadlines, there was a lot of kind of went on, and I didn't want to bring that into my business. I'm like, no, this is my beautiful baby. I don't want to bring that into it. And so I really had to, it took me a
Interesting.
while to really change my mindset and realize that, okay, this is an entirely different industry. I get to choose who I work with. I get to choose my clients. It's not like being put into a team in a corporate world. I am the boss, so I get to make the decisions. And it really, and then I also got to make my own process because I was in software development before. And so that was very strict. You followed the Scrum process, you followed Agile, you followed Waterfront. It was quite laid out for you. And I got to create it myself. But in that first year, when I first did the life coaching, it did take me about a year. I was very much hiding in perfectionism. And, I was working on my signature system, my signature talk, my signature everything. And I didn't let anybody know how they could work with me. I didn't, I was giving value, but not, inviting anybody in to work with me. And I very much hid in all of that. And then when I did my first launch, I didn't have anybody come to my master class that I did. I had 0 show ups because I didn't really plan it through fully. And ever since then, I really used that falter to help people because I see other coaches, I see people that I'm in programs with, and they're not launching, they're not putting their stuff out. And I think that one of the reasons is because there's just so much stuff to do. It's so overwhelming. And sometimes they don't even know where to start. And so I can help them with that.
What would you say was your biggest win as you've been going through your business over the last 4 years?
What was my biggest win? I think the time where I got over 100 opt-ins to my workshop. I think that was a huge sort of milestone for me. It was like, there are 100 people who said yes, they're interested. Like it's like, what? I was just like crazy in my mind that there could be that many people. And I remember I was in my class with my other coaches, and I was like, actually, now I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to have to speak to that many people. What if they all show up? Oh, I've never been speaking to 100 people at the same time before. Yeah, so I think that was like a milestone that I hit that I was like super proud of and blown away. Because when you start as an entrepreneur or as a coach, the first people on your email list are your friends and your family, and there's maybe 15, 20 people. But as that starts to grow, it can be quite amazing.
Elisa, what was your biggest learning from that victory?
Ooh, I think that you can't do it alone. I know that a lot of us are solopreneurs and we do a lot of stuff on our own. But the reason why I got so many people into that was because I had made connections with other coaches and we established like a joint venture partnership. And we really wanted to support each other and help each other. And so I would promote their events and they would promote my events in return. And because of that, I was able to reach so many more people because you might have, say, 3,000 people on your email list, but not all of them are going to be interested in buying from you, right? Not all of them, maybe you don't resonate with all of them, only a percentage of them you will. And so all those other people, who are interested in your content, but maybe aren't going to become your clients, they might become clients for a coach friend of yours who offers something different. And that's what I love about the coaching industry, that there isn't that competition. We all want to support and help each other. And so because I had their support, I was able to get that 100 opt-ins.
That was beautiful. Thanks for the great learnings you took away. So, if you're open to it, tell us about the biggest disappointment slash failure you've had in the last 4 years.
Ooh. I would say that time when I finally got myself out of hiding, finally was like, yes, I'm going to do a launch, and set up 4 master classes and then didn't have anybody show up and therefore didn't have anybody sign up. And I had this amazing program and I didn't get to help anybody. No one got to benefit from it. And I think that was the most disappointing part. Not that, of course, like sitting there on Zoom and no one shows up, but also a bit devastating. And I remember after, I think the first one I did anyway, I was like, what if somebody shows up late and it'd be good practice? But by the time the fourth one came around, I remember I messaged my coach and I was like, can I just leave? And he's like, just get out there,
Mhm.
just go. So that was devastating. But it was really the fact that I wasn't helping the people that I wanted to help.
What was your big takeaway from that experience?
What was my big takeaway? To try again, because being a project manager, we always do lessons learned or do retrospectives. And so I did a self-assessment on myself and was like, okay, what could I do differently? And that's actually how that giant plan came about. I was like, okay, what can I create my own trackers? What are the different steps? What did I need to do? And really just thought through that process and was like, and I do that after every launch. How can I continually improve? What could I do differently? And that's something I love with my clients as well, that as we're going through all the different things that they could do, one of my clients was like, you know what, I'm so overwhelmed and busy right now. I'm not ready for joint venture partners. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like next time you launch, maybe you will be, and you can start making those relationships now and then engage with them later, because we really need to meet people where they're at and do things as we go along. And so that's what yeah, learned from that was that what didn't I do? What could I do better next time? And how can I continually improve?
So, what do you think is holding your business back right now from growing?
I would say I'm getting in my own way with following up to book sales calls. That's something I don't love doing. Yeah, is booking those sales calls every week. I think that's something that's definitely holding my business back. It's
Thank you for
entirely
being
on
so refreshing and candid.
no
Lisa,
problem.
we've got a lot of people listening in there and they love what you said, but they don't know how to get a hold of you. So how would they do that?
Yeah. So you can find me. Oh, my name is quite complicated. Elisa Boogaerts. It's maybe you can find that in the show notes. It's ElisaBoogaerts. It is a Flemish name. It is confusing. But yeah, I'm under that LinkedIn and Facebook where you can find me, where I do a lot of posting. And my website is inspirationbyelisa.com.
Well, that was not difficult to spell.
Yeah.
So, Elisa, I've asked you a half dozen questions, and I probably should have asked you one that I didn't think of. So, tell us what would be that unasked question and the answer to that unasked question.
One thing I think maybe we didn't touch on that I like to speak about is a mistake that coaches can make, especially when they're starting their business. And I think that it is getting your backend system set up. I think that a lot of people just like, oh, I'm just going to whatever, like my business is small and it's just me. I'm just going to throw files into my Google Drive and like, leave it there. And then as you start to scale and grow, or you have more launches and things, that filing system can become a bit of a mess and it can be difficult to find things and you can spend tons of time searching for stuff. And if you can't find it, you have to spend time recreating it. And this time is money. And the more time we spend doing these things means that you're not spending time on the right activities. And so therefore, I think it's really good to get that set up. But whatever your filing system is, wherever it may be, whether it's on Google Drive or not, to start thinking about that, start putting things in folders so you can just immediately go there and find what you need to find. And as you scale and grow, and you bring people onto your team, even whether it be your first VA, you have a system already and it's all set up and they can just go there. I know a client of mine didn't really have that. He had some stuff set up, but also he had a contractor that was working with him on his launch. He was more of an established coach who's making six figures already. But that contractor did everything on her personal email and Gmail and Drive and computer. And so when that contract ended and his next launch hired a new team, they no longer had access to those files because they weren't on a centralized system. They weren't part of his drive and where like his company assets were, and therefore the launch assets. And so he had to, first of all, the team spent, I don't know how many days trying to search for everything. Maybe we can find that email somewhere. Then they had to recreate everything, which meant that they weren't working on the tasks they needed to be working on. And he estimates it cost him about 50 grand. So it can cost a lot of time. It can cost a lot of money. Maybe if you're newer and you're not anywhere near 50 grand, but just think of all the time it's going to take you. So really, yeah, set up your business systems and do it early on and create a system for it so that you can be more efficient and more organized and then yeah, you won't waste time.
For the great question and a fantastic answer. So you gave everybody listening a fantastic gem with that answer. Elisa, thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
So in closing, everybody, let's focus on the single fact that our businesses don't become extraordinary in a single moment. Instead, they get there as a result of the owner first creating a vision for the future. Number two, having a system to execute that vision. And number three, leveraging high performance teams. You got a resource right in front of you now that you've listened to that represents a part of your potential high performance team. Now, you can get ideas around all those concepts by going to my YouTube channel, which is Business Mastery Pro. Thanks for listening. Elisa, thanks for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you so much.